Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Stuban Senior Services Fund section of the program. Chris, thanks so much for being back on the show.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Especially on this very... Welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hickam, and we are proudly broadcasting live, as always, from the Hesselson studio. And what an exciting show we have in store for you. In the 7 o'clock hour, get this, we're going to be talking to Chris Callis about today's upcoming college fair at the Elmira Elks Lodge from 6 to 8 p.m. And right after we finish talking with Mr. Callis, we're going to be talking with Congressman Nick Langworthy. It's been a little while since we've had the congressman on the program, so I'll be highlighting it throughout the morning. If you have questions for him, I cannot guarantee we'll get to all of them. It is a Zoom interview. He'll be zooming in live from Washington, D.C., so it's a little tough to check all the questions as we do that with the technological issues. So if you could get those questions to me ahead of time, I would really appreciate it, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we possibly can. Also on the program this morning, we're going to be talking about college campuses, but Trump's trial and the idea of lawfare. We'll most likely be asking the congressman about that as well. But yesterday has been described as salacious, unnecessary, as Stormy Daniels took to questioning. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. We may even kick off with that, but I do have a couple updates. First of all, a story we had for you a few weeks back, which was the NPR bias scandal. Now, because it is a left-wing organization, you notice the media really stopped focusing on it as quickly as they possibly could. The House and Senate Republicans have not given up. The House Committee on Energy and Commerce requested NPR CEO Catherine Maurer to appear Wednesday for an oversight and investigation subcommittee hearing on the allegations. Now remember, NPR is funded by taxpayers. If nothing else, I mean, she should be speaking to that subcommittee. She should attend that hearing, but she couldn't because it turns out she has meetings all day long. NPR respects the committee and its request and has offered to testify on a day in the near future that works for the committee and Maurer. NPR has a previously scheduled and publicly posted all-day meeting of its board of directors on that date. Maurer's first such meeting since she joined NPR just 6 weeks ago. These meetings are scheduled more than a year in advance. Maurer is therefore unable to attend this week's hearing and has communicated that to the committee and proposed alternative dates. Maurer will provide written testimony in her absence. So we'll keep you updated on that. I don't know what will come from it. It almost seems like this is a story or a topic that comes up every few years. No one is surprised by the bias at NPR. But nothing, for whatever reason, ends up nothing ends up getting done to, for lack of a better word, punish because of the bias. And the biases continue to grow and get worse. As we have seen with the most recent case. So that's just an update from a few weeks ago. Also, if you were curious, Vladimir Putin has vowed a lavish inauguration on Tuesday to deliver victory to Russians, embarking on a record-breaking fifth term with more power than ever. Yes, Putin has launched his fifth term. All right, there's your updates. Okay, on some oddball or different type stories. Now, I know we have been talking about college campuses. I am going to talk to the congressman about them as well. We're going to talk about them a little bit more today. I just want to give you this update. The anti-Israel encampment that was at the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan, which is interesting, an interesting location for the encampment, as it has become fashionable to be a part of these anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protests. So maybe an appropriate home for these encampments. Dozens of protesters were arrested for refusing to shut down the rally. NYPD officers in riot helmets and carrying zip ties moved in on the crowd of hundreds just 10 minutes after announcing that those who failed to vacate would be charged with trespassing. Within 30 minutes, a university cleaning crew cleared the encampment, dragging the tents away from the property. It wasn't immediately clear if the Fashion Institute of Technology gave the NYPD the go-ahead to arrest the protesters, as Columbia had done on its students twice last month. So there is one update as we see college campuses attempt to handle this and attempt to handle it very poorly, as you saw with Columbia now caving to the protesters, the anti-Israel, pro-Hamas protesters, by changing the graduation making it not a full school graduation. We talked about that extensively yesterday, how heartbreaking that is for students not involved in these protests, that now not only do not get the fun, the special moment of that big graduation with their family and friends, they also, it looks as if, will suffer repercussions again, not from anything they necessarily did, with having the stigma of a Columbia degree after paying all that money. Why? Because of selfish protesters who would rather scream and stay intense and yell vicious, horrific things and at Jewish students and be involved in destruction. They're more concerned about, again, themselves, and we've talked about the narcissistic level of this. But I'm not going to just talk about this. There's a lot that we are, and we're going to jump around this morning. But I've been starting each day's show for the last few months with that topic, and today, because we have so much to get to, and we have so many guests, that I want to start with Trump. Did you watch any of the coverage? It's kind of hard to miss the coverage of the trial. It is, as Jonathan Turley said, irrelevant and salacious testimony during yesterday's hearing. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I realized I forgot one other update before we take our first break. Adam B. Coleman. He writes for the New York Post. Now, Adam B. Coleman, we've mentioned him in the past. He is the author of Black Victim to Black Victor. And he's the founder of Wrong Speak Publishing. And yesterday we just mentioned this quickly, but if you're not familiar with it, Governor Hochul suggested in the Bronx there are black children that do not understand what a computer is. And Adam Coleman writes, Black Americans like me are often guilted into defaulting to supporting the Democratic Party. But with friends like the Democrats, who needs enemies? No matter what garbage they regurgitate into party talking points about our existence, we're supposed to hold our noses and show our support for our political frenemies. And now the stench of racial rhetoric bile has emitted from the mouth of Governor Hochul with insulting and ignorant comments about black kids. While speaking on stage in a California forum, about her desire to have more of a diverse workforce in artificial intelligence, she attempted to highlight the disadvantages some have, but instead made an unfounded presumption about them. This is the exact quote from Governor Hochul. Quote, right now we have, young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know these things. And I want the world opened up to all of them. Now, the quote itself is disgusting enough. But again, just as a side note here, doesn't it also show what I've mentioned numerous times on this program, that she is not the best at the kind of the political speak or the cadence. I find her speech is very awkward. Not really what you think of from necessarily a governor or from a politician in general. But that's a side note. That's not even on top of the despicable thing that she said. Going back to Adam B. Coleman, he says, of course her statement about black children's knowledge of the existence of computers was met with swift backlash, even from lawmakers within her own party. Quote, deeply disturbed by Governor Hochul's recent remarks and the underlying perception that she has of black and brown children from the Bronx, lamented Bronx Assembly member Corrine Reyes. Our children are bright, brilliant, extremely capable, and more than deserving of any opportunities that are extended to other kids. Do better. Now, that's a line that's used quite a bit. Do better. She's telling Governor Hochul to do better. Hochul inadvertently revealed how she's a country club Democrat who perceives anyone who isn't a member of the upper class as being beyond ignorant and incapable, writes Adam B. Coleman, which is a great way of putting it. To smother the mild guilt they feel for being fortunate, such people pretend to understand the plight of the unfortunate with leftist virtue signaling. Ironically, her twisted belief that black children are ignorant of a word reveals her ignorance about the world. It would be bad enough to presume black children in the Bronx don't have computers, but she verbalizes an even more putrid belief that the word computer isn't anywhere to be found in their vocabulary. And then he goes on in his piece, and you can find it at the New York Post, but that is a very, very good point. She isn't even suggesting they don't own a computer, black children in the Bronx, or are around them in schools or at home. They don't even know the word computer. And he goes through and gives some examples of what else does she think, such as black people in the Bronx use rotary phones because they never heard of an iPhone, etc. Right? He goes on to say Hochul and her country club Democrats pass themselves off as being the saviors of black people when we didn't ask them to be. They're self-serving narcissists who use our likeness for social clout and voter-based bragging rights when, at the end of the day, we are nothing more than the help that caters to them at their exclusive clubs. The party I used to support still argues that black people are less capable of getting a government-issued ID to vote when I've yet to meet a black adult my entire life who didn't have one. This is, and again, if you're just joining us, this is Adam B. Coleman, the author of Black Victim to Black Victor. He finishes up, and it's quite a lengthier piece, but I'm glad that he highlighted, because the media is not doing so, what Governor Hochul said at a forum in California, by the way. A statement that would probably be the end, well, not even probably, would be the end of any type of elected office for a Republican. But as he wraps up, Governor Hochul, that, quote, black people not knowing about computers line, might get applause from her golfing buddies on the sand trap, but it doesn't jive with anyone outside of those gates. So I thought it was a very good piece. You can find the full piece for yourself. I can't run too late, but I wanted to give you that update because we just glanced over it yesterday because we ran out of time because we were so busy yesterday as well with Caleb Slater. So, again, a really good piece if you have a moment. When we come back, we are going to talk about yesterday's Donald Trump's hush money trial when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie-cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with the no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Coming up at 7 o'clock, Chris Callis about today's college fair. And then at 7:20, we'll be talking with Congressman Nick Langworthy. So if you have any questions for the congressman, please get them into me as soon as you can, because it is Zoom live from Washington, D.C. It's kind of difficult to check my text as easily as I normally am able to during a guest. Okay. Now, the judge warned yesterday the prosecutors about, quote, the degree of detail during Stormy Daniels' salacious testimony. Now, I want to highlight, we are going to do our best here on Frankly Speaking not to give you all those salacious details. If you want to find them for yourself, I'm sure there's other outlets. We, realizing it is 6 o'clock in the morning and you may be getting ready for school or for work, do not need to hear all of the sordid details according to Stormy Daniels. But as Jonathan Turley said, the judge allowed this. The judge allowed Stormy Daniels to give irrelevant, salacious testimony just to humiliate Trump. And this proves yet again what this case is all about. It's not about some crime. It's not about, they haven't even talked about a crime yet. What this is to humiliate Trump, silence Trump. And Jonathan Turley, we've talked about him a lot in the past. He said Bragg has refused to clearly define the crime that Trump was seeking to conceal when payments for a non-disclosure agreement was listed as a legal expense. We would just know it when we saw it in trial. We are still waiting. But this week, Bragg seems to be prosecuting an actual obscenity case. Merchant allowed the prosecutors to get into the details of the affair despite how immaterial it was of the evidence to any criminal theory. Neither the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, nor the payment to Daniels is being contested. It is also uncontested that Trump wanted to pay to get the story and other stories, including untrue allegations, from being published. That is known. The value of the testimony was entirely sensational and gratuitous, yet Merchant was fine with humiliating Trump. Of course, this is what this has all been about from the beginning. Daniels' testimony was a dumpster fire in the courtroom. The most maddening moment for the defense came at the lunch break. Listen to this. When Merchant stated, and I quote, "I agree that it would have been better if some of these things had been left unsaid." Imagine how the defense felt at that moment. He then, to add insult to injury, denied a motion for a mistrial on the testimony, based on the testimony, and blamed the defense for not objecting more. So it's the defense fault for not objecting more. That, of course, ignores the standing objection of the defense to Daniels to even appear and specific objections to the broad scope allowed by the court. So once the damage is done, Merchant comes out and says, oh, you know, this probably shouldn't have been said, but you could have done more. I don't even know. I mean, even if you're out there, I know we have viewers that aren't fans of Trump. Do you not see the precedent that this is setting? Please be honest. I would love to hear your comments on how you feel this is the right thing for the country, the right thing to do in general. Please, I'm not being facetious. Is that the right word? I'm not trying to be confrontational at all. I just want to understand what the justification for Stormy Daniels is, what the justification for the case itself is. But I'm going to continue here because Jonathan Turley has some really good points in this. There was no reason for Daniels to appear at all in this trial. Even if he was adamant in allowing her, Merchant could have imposed a much more limited scope for her testimony. He could also have enforced the limits that he did place on the testimony when it was being ignored by both the prosecutors and the witness. Merchant said that he is considering a limiting instruction for the jury to ignore aspects of the testimony. Now that the damage is done. But that is of no comfort or little comfort for the defendant. The court was told that this would happen. It happened, and now the court wants to ask the jury to pretend that it did not happen. And I thought that was a really good point by Turley. It was told to the court that this is exactly what would happen. And shocker, it happened. And now Merchant wants to say, ignore what happened. Merchant knows that there is no way for the jury to unhear the testimony. More importantly, the prosecution knew that from the onset. Daniels appeared eager to share the stories for the same reason that she was eager to tell her or sell her story. While she said she, quote, hates Trump and wants him, quote, held accountable, Daniels is no victim. Now, I'm not going to go through all this again because of the hour. But he boils it down to this. Again, Jonathan Turley, if you're just joining us. And he is an attorney and a professor at George Washington University Law School. He said, you have a judge who should have recused himself given his daughter's major role as a Democratic activist and fundraiser. You have a gag order that is allowing a New York Supreme Court justice to regulate what the leading candidate for the presidency of the United States may say in an election on the weaponization of the legal system. You have a lead prosecutor, Matthew Colangelo, who not only left the Biden Justice Department to revive this case, but once worked for the Democratic National Committee. You have a case based on 2 dead misdemeanors shocked back into life by a still mysterious theory of an undefined crime. In comparison, Daniels may be the only authentic part of the entire case in New York v. Trump. That's Jonathan Turley. He was also on Fox News, Fox News' America Reports. We're going to talk about that in just a second, as well as what some others had to say about this yesterday. I would love to hear from you. We are going to talk a little bit about college campuses, a few other kind of random issues that I think are worth noting. If you are just joining us, we're going to be joined by Congressman Nick Langworthy at 7:20. So please get your questions in. I would love to hear from you and get the questions that you would like answered from your congressman, because that's our goal here on Frankly Speaking, get everybody on that we can, so you have an opportunity to ask them the questions and get the answers you really want to know. So Congressman Nick Langworthy joining us at 7:20, but right now we have to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
Stock up and save at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines. 1.5-liter Cavit Pinot Grigio, regularly $15.99, is on sale for $12.99. Save $2 a bottle with mail-in rebate, or $36 on a case of 6. 1.75-liter Canadian Club Whiskey on sale for $18.99. Save $5 a bottle with rebate, or $48 on a case of 6. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
Rated the best hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audion Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $189.
Getting aerial video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here, we got the guy that swings harder, the guy that runs faster, hits further, deals nasty. Saturdays on Fox, we got the swag, the scoops, the smiles, the steals. We got the pop, the rips, the threads, the wheels. We got the slides, the kicks, the shovels, the feels, and picks for the highlight reel. Because Saturdays on Fox, we got you. No big deal.
We are back with Frankie speaking. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we broadcast live from the Hesselson's studio. A comment from a viewer. Thank you for your coverage on the Trump trial. I'm not sure where to watch it because CNN is too biased. Yes, I know there is a lot of coverage out there, but you've come to the right place to get the true story. Jonathan Turley, the article that I just mentioned, also was on Fox News Channel's America Reports. And he again mentions that Judge Merchant lost control of the courtroom. And he said, the statements of the judge that he's surprised there isn't a higher number of objections from the defense is baffling. The defense objected to putting Stormy Daniels on the stand. They then objected to the scope of the questioning. And now the judge sounds like Claude Rains saying, I'm shocked. There's a porn star in my courtroom. Well, if you give a lot of scope to testimony, what did you expect? And the problem with that, what the judge has done here, is that this is an entirely unnecessary witness. It is uncontested that there's an NDA. Whether what happened in the relationship, if there was one, is immaterial to how those payments were denoted by the Trump campaign. So the court had the opportunity repeatedly to say we are not going to take this courtroom through details of this relationship. If you want to establish a relationship occurred, do so. Establish the dates. It's like those facts could have been stipulated to. So the prosecutors wanted to get salacious details out. This is a form of punishment. And yes, make no excuse. This is a way to humiliate Trump. This is a way to give media outlets the opportunity to humiliate Trump while brag, boasts, essentially, about what on a campaign promise that he made good on. They are trying to use a witness for punitive purposes, and in my view, political purposes. And this is what happens. It happened because the judge lost control of his courtroom. Now, John Roberts, who was interviewing Mr. Turley, said there seems to be no argument that this was only to make Trump look like a bad guy. And Turley said, you really can't have this cat walk backward. The judge knows that. The prosecutors know that. And what the prosecutors are arguing here is completely ridiculous. Now, CNN's Paula Reed, and this is interesting. This is a point I haven't heard very often. I know it's CNN. But CNN's chief legal analyst, Paula Reed, said on The Lead yesterday. Well, first of all, she was asked, Paula, if I was describing the intensity in there this morning, this cross-examination took on a whole other level just now. And Reed said, yeah. And remember, at the start of the day, the Trump team was outraged that they had so little notice about who the witness would be and so little time to prepare their cross-examination, where clearly they're doing just fine. This is a devastating cross-examination. They've gotten Stormy Daniels to concede she hates Trump, that she said that she would dance if he went to jail. They have pointed to the fact that she has said she will never pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars as she owes him. They've effectively undercut her credibility by getting her to talk about conversations she's had when they were pitching her book. This has been devastating for Stormy Daniels' credibility. Not if you read most media coverage. You would think it was gospel, what she had said. But Greg Jarrett kind of echoing that sentiment, and how am I doing on time? Okay, echoing that sentiment, Greg Jarrett from Fox News, saying that District Attorney Bragg hoped Stormy Daniels would save Trump's case, but something else happened. I don't know if he was hoping to save the Trump case, meaning save it for Bragg. I do believe this was a part of the trial just completely meant to humiliate the former president. This was, as Jonathan Turley said, punitive damage. This was to kind of punish Trump and to give the media opportunity to report on this. And you see, and we'll get into this in a moment because I'm analyzing this in my head a little bit more than maybe necessary, but I want to get your take on it. You have reporters, when Trump has those breaks, asking him questions that will clearly, if he answers, get him to violate that gag order, because the judge, Merchant, says that if he keeps violating it, there will be jail time, essentially. So I believe, and I'll analyze this a little bit more in just a second when we get done with Greg Jarrett. My thought is, you've heard me say what journalism school and what journalists are taught at the college level, to kind of tie it in with the indoctrination, that there is nothing better than what Woodward and Bernstein did, bringing down a sitting Republican. That's a very important point. Sitting Republican president. So imagine if you can be that reporter that brings down the potential sitting Republican president. Next best thing. You'll be lionized. You'll be icons like Woodward and Bernstein who walk on water if you go to journalism school. But D.A. Bragg, according to Greg Jarrett, he said, if you thought the Manhattan criminal trial of Trump couldn't devote into more ridiculousness, it did. The folly of D.A. Alvin Bragg's prosecution was further exposed when Stormy Daniels took the witness stand. Not unexpectedly, she offered, well, I am not going to, we're going to skip over a little bit of this because it is 6:30. I know we're mostly grown-ups here, but I don't want to push it here. So let's just say she had certain things that she talked about. And he goes on to talk about Stormy Daniels specifically and what she said and kind of about her as well. But the decision by Merchant to even allow such inflammatory testimony is so appalling that it prompted Trump's lawyers to demand a mistrial. But since the judge was instrumental in creating the legal blunder, he naturally denied the motion that will surely be a bright red flag for the defense on appeal. Yeah, you can see the writing on the wall in that instance. As I've noted in prior columns, as I forgot his name for a second, Greg Jarrett, relevant evidence must be excluded, quote, if its probable value is outweighed by the danger that its admission would create undue prejudice to a party. Here, the prejudice to Trump is manifest and immense, and the testimony itself has almost no value whatsoever. So he's suggesting that this is already signaled an appeal, that an appeal is coming, and because the judge screwed up, he didn't want to admit it and call the mistrial, that is going to be kind of the fast track to appeals. But anyway, we are 3 weeks into this absurd trial, and there is still no evidence that Trump committed any crimes. No one has testified that the former president was involved in booking the Daniels legal payments as legal expenses. Prosecutors allege uncharged election crimes that they have no authority to enforce. Only the federal government can do that and choose not to because no crimes were committed. Bragg manufactured a phony case against a political enemy, and his lieutenants have polluted it with irrelevant, inflammatory, and prejudicial garbage. The district attorney has made a mockery of fairness and due process. Judge Merchant should have stopped it. Instead, he has enabled and emboldened a corrupt prosecution. You just need to look at his background and his bias, too. I mean, anybody that's being fair and honest with themselves over this. I don't care how much you hate Trump. If you're being fair and honest, you see what is wrong and what is happening here. And you also need to think, and I'm hoping we'll have an opportunity to ask the congressman who's going to be on a little bit later, what he thinks about the precedent that this sets. Because it's almost accepted now in the media, well, this is just a one and done thing because it's Trump. I mean, it's almost what Governor Hochul said. No, this is, don't worry, businessmen, don't worry about, hey, these are kind of anomalies. It's just because it's Trump. Baloney, if they work. If he's actually sent to jail or if this costs him in some way the presidency, you don't think this is now the system that will be used? It's kind of like what we talk about when they keep bringing up Nikki Haley. And boy, we wouldn't have had the chaos. And the media would have went after her. Maybe not 100% like they went after Trump, but 99, 98%. They would have tried to destroy her. So it's not as if they see that something works, you're going to hear about scandals, you're going to hear about Russia, you're going to hear about democracy with every future Republican candidate. So are you going to see this lawfare continue? I think especially if it's successful, I think without a doubt. That's the precedent that's been set by the same party that continues to lecture us about being a threat to democracy. Remember that. Wrapping up what Mr. Jarrett had to say, if Americans care about our system of justice, they should be disgusted with this assault on the rule of law. We've got to take a short break. I see some comments coming in. We've got a few other things on this as well. As I mentioned, Congressman Nick Langworthy will be our guest at 7:20. Right before that, Chris Callis from the College Fair, which is being held at the Elmira Elks Lodge from 6 to 8 tonight. Reminder tonight, he's going to join us at the top of the hour because we have a very busy Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program this morning. And the congressman will be calling in live from Washington, D.C., so get your questions in as soon as you possibly can. But right now, we do have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Power through your to-do list. And create a space that really makes a splash. Right now, save $30 on the FS56 RCE and $60 on the FS91R trimmers. Real STIHL. Find yours.
Attention care beneficiaries. This is an important message for people on Medicare. Today we are talking about Medicare Advantage plans. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, and don't have a Medicare Advantage Part C plan, call now because there may be a Medicare Part C plan with additional benefits available in your zip code. You can call now to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan with additional benefits. Just call 800-351-6177 and a licensed insurance agent can look up your eligibility and plan options and see if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Part C plan that could save money or include additional benefits. Don't wait. You are not automatically enrolled in a Part C plan with additional benefits. If you're new to Medicare, moving or losing coverage, call for your free, no-obligation Medicare benefits review. You won't know what plan options are available to you unless you call, so call now. The call is free. Call 800-351-6177. 800-351-6177.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
We are back here on Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and we have a few comments from viewers here. Stormy Daniels is obviously in breach of contract with the non-disclosure agreement, of course, so Trump should be getting that money back anyway. Use it to pay his gag order fines. The problem with that is she said she's not going to pay. Another comment from a different viewer. If, in fact, Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels did have an affair, isn't that a topic better discussed or handled behind closed doors between him and his wife? Further down throughout history, we have heard stories about various other presidents having mistresses and clandestine affairs, all of which have fallen by the wayside or even laughed at. Similar to what we should all be doing now, instead of watching the media try to bring down Mr. Trump. Yes, so it's a perfect scenario. Because what Bragg is doing here and what the judge is doing here is getting this salacious information from Stormy Daniels, so then the media can cover it breathlessly, nonstop, and, again, humiliate the former president. That is their goal, and that's what Jonathan Turley said. This is actually a punishment against Trump, allowing Stormy Daniels to, because there's no reason for her to testify. Attorney David Limbaugh, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, unless some reason it's a different David Limbaugh, the brother of Rush. The salacious testimony of Stormy Daniels is not only prejudicial but irrelevant, so by no rationale under the evidentiary rule should it have ever been admitted. An Indianapolis civil rights attorney posted, Stormy Daniels testified against Trump this morning, going into salacious detail about the alleged sexual encounter. This is irrelevant. has no bearing on the issue in this trial, which is whether Trump hid the payment to her in order to influence the 2016 election. In a fair trial, the judge would exclude that line of questioning. Paul Ingrasai, a lawyer and communications director for the National Constitutional Law Union, said, in a flagrant violation of New York's rules of evidence and judicial ethics guidelines, the judge is allowing Stormy Daniels to run wild with her highly prejudicial testimony, running roughshod over the objection of Trump's attorneys, and allowing Daniels to vividly discuss every last salacious detail about the alleged interaction she had with Trump. They're asking, and again, just because the hour of the program, they are asking, and they did ask and received answers to issues that should have never been discussed. Explain what the crime is that he's being charged with so that we can understand how this was relevant. Wouldn't that be the nice way to start the trial? And you can go to our one viewer's point earlier about the bias in the media. They have the top 5 or 6 things that came out of yesterday's trial. And it's not worth going into from CNN. It really isn't. But I wanted to highlight this because I know we're running kind of short on this hour. And as I mentioned, we do have the congressman coming in the next, zooming in the next hour at 7:20. So get your questions in. But reporters were lobbing questions to Trump that he can't answer under the gag order. And my theory on that is they know what they're doing. I mean, they already have the coverage that they were chomping at the bit for, which is coverage that they believe can humiliate Trump. So they've got that, and they're getting greedy. They want to be the reporter who asks the question that Trump answers that gets him sent to jail. Because it boils back down to what I've said a million times, that when you're in journalism school, you are taught that there is nothing higher than Woodward and Bernstein, because they brought down a sitting president, but not just any sitting president, a Republican president. So there is no greater icon, no greater goal to strive towards in your career. So isn't this essentially the next best thing? If they can get the potential president of the United States, one-time president of the United States, who also happens to be a Republican, if they can get him thrown in jail, do you realize how big they've made it? They'll be studied about in journalistic textbooks for years to come. They will be made a star. They'll be interviewed on networks that may not even be their own, just to get their opinion and just to get what it feels like. They will be the culmination of gold medal winner, heavyweight champion of the world, World Series winner, all rolled into one, because they'll have reached the ultimate goal of bringing down, in their mind, the president or future president of the United States. So reporters this week have asked President Trump questions about the jury and witnesses in the business record trial in Manhattan that, if he answered, would be a violation of Judge Merchan's restrictive gag order and possibly land him in jail. Again, the gag order itself is one of the many instances of bias and political prosecution / persecution, of the president. And anybody, and again, I ask this because I do know we have viewers that aren't fans of Trump. Do you like the president of the sets? Is it okay because it is Trump? Because I do not believe the line that this is one and done, that don't worry, it's just because it's Trump. This isn't going to be a common thing. This isn't going to happen a lot. This is just a really different situation. Yeah. I don't believe that for 1 second. I believe it's, especially if this is successful, that this will be used continuously, the weaponization of the justice system. Now, The Hill is reporting that jurors did not seem moved by Stormy Daniels' testimony. Jurors were not as animated during her testimony as they were in earlier parts of the trial, most maintaining straight faces, some appearing tired, and others taking notes. Now, if you saw any of it or you heard about any of it, she kind of made it into a stand-up routine almost. She was trying to crack jokes during her time on the stand. Although many watched Daniels, even some of her more intimate details about the alleged encounter did not seem to captivate the jury like other witnesses did. That's according to The Hill. Now, Democrat Mayor Eric Adams announced that Rikers Island is preparing to imprison Donald Trump. We'll talk about that in just a second when we come back. Read some other comments. I think we have a few in. As I mentioned, I will have the congressman in for the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund section of our program right around 7:20. So if you have any questions for him, Congressman Nick Langworthy, I'd love to have them as soon as in advance as you can so I can try to ask during our interview. But right now we have to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now is the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
I was an athlete when I grew up, and I always wanted to stay near athletes. What drove me to orthopedics and sports medicine in general was the need and the want to help these patients from their time of injury and helping them with surgery and through the rehab, getting them back to the field. My patients are obviously very important to me. These athletes, weekend warriors, all of them, I really want them to get back and be doing the things that they want to be doing.
Dale pues, vamos allá, muévete más loco como solo tú sabes. Así es, con las manos en la cabeza, sacúdete, sacúdete, mira, sacúdete.
Our beautiful view of historic Market Street, the exact location where we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. You're watching Frankly Speaking on Big Fox. Thank you so much. So Mayor Adams has announced that the city's Department of Corrections is prepared to imprison former President Trump at Rikers Island. Our amazing commissioner, she is prepared for whatever comes on Rikers Island. I'm pretty sure she would be prepared to manage and deal with the situation. Anyway, from viewers, the Trump trial is all meant to get a guilty conviction at any cost. I think we're seeing that. You've got a stacked deck in so many situations in this. So many, from the judge to how the jury was selected, to allowing Stormy Daniels to testify, how the prosecutors are handling this. The judge saying, I'm surprised there wasn't more objections, blaming the defense. Yes, I mean, but I'll continue with what you had to say. It's all meant for Biden to say he won't debate a criminal. When over 90% of the media is corrupt, they can continue to push the narrative they want to achieve. Yes, you're not seeing the fair coverage other than places like here and Fox, where you actually see this for what it's worth. A trial that should never be happening in the first place. This is just Bragg making good on promises that he would bring down Trump. And it really is despicable. It really is setting a precedent that is very, very scary for the future of this nation. Wow, look at all the comments coming in. And these kangaroo court judges, this is from a viewer, along with the knowledge that they will be protected from any repercussions, are trying to position themselves for the possibility of a Supreme Court position. Yeah, that's a good point. Merchant, next Supreme Court justice. Also, another comment that we received from a viewer. If it works, why would they ever stop? Yeah, they won't stop. This is not the last time you'll see this, no matter what they... I mean, the media, that's to show you how biased it is. Even saying, well, this isn't going to be a common thing. This is just, it's Trump. Oh, thank you. I'll read that a little bit later on. Question for our congressman. The media. Okay. Yes. Stormy didn't give up all the details, but yes, I like your comment, but you're not gonna trick me into that. The Trump campaign, according to one outlet, It says the Trump campaign contemplates a jail sentence. And you'll see more and more of these headlines. On Monday, the judge presiding over Trump's trial once again warned, this time face-to-face, that he would face jail time if he continues to violate a gag order. It's a scenario that Trump's campaign has already been discussing. Quote, over the past couple of months, everybody has come to the realization that it's a possibility and thought about what must be done. These are all professionals, meaning the campaign representatives. What exactly the playbook would look like if Trump actually goes to jail remains to be seen. But based on the tactics currently being deployed by the campaign, it would almost certainly include a ramp-up of fundraising messages, surrogates arguing Trump's side in the media, and a heightened focus on claims that the case is politically motivated. In fact, some of Trump's aides believe that any sort of further restrictions, whether it be jail or home confinement, would clearly serve as further proof of their core argument that the trial is election interference. Do you like how biased that is? How they say that? Well, they would. It's just kind of like we were saying before with the campus protests. Well, Republicans would use this. Trump supporters would use this. I mean, I know the media and the left always talk about whataboutism. This would never, you can't even compare whataboutism. This would not happen to a Democrat nominee. It just wouldn't. I don't know. And then they try to, that's the one little thing they try to say about Merchant, the judge, that, well, he doesn't want to send him to jail. Oh, what a swell guy. We got to take another short break. I'm going to have to do a couple breaks on the back end here because we're going to jump right in with Chris Callis. I can't run too late on breaks because I'm going to try to keep the congressman on for as long as we possibly can. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Coons sit and sleep in Corning. Hey, did you know that Coons has been in business since 1955? Wow, that's going on 70 years. And did you know that Coons is still family owned and operated? Really? That's 3 generations. Way to go, Steve. Did you also know that their salespeople are non-commissioned and they offer delivery and financing? That's awesome. So why do they want you to shop and compare then? Because they are confident that you won't find a better deal.
Guaranteed.
Coons sit and sleep in Corning.
Shop and compare.
You just have to get in the seat of a John Deere 1 Series tractor. Not because of how easy it is to use, or because of our expert dealers. Not even because it has implements for every job. You just have to get in the seat because breaking ground on your dream home feels pretty great.
It's an inventory clearance event at Lindsay Equipment. Get 0% financing for 84 months and $1,000 off select John Deere compact tractors.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox getting ready to wrap up our first hour with 1 hour left together as Congressman Langworthy will be joining us in the next hour. That's at 7:20. Right before that, we're going to kick off the second hour broadcast with Chris Callis about the college fair. So don't miss any of that. A federal judge did indefinitely postpone the Trump classified documents trial. This is important because you have a scenario where he's being charged with mishandling of classified documents, all while Jack Smith had to admit that they mishandled the classified documents. Well, so it sounds, some are speculating, and I guess that would be the case, that the hush money trial, which I don't really like that name, but the hush money trial is the last trial before Election Day. That's getting a lot of coverage, isn't it? Okay, here's a comment from a viewer. In an alternative universe, what if Trump was to throw up his hands and quit the race and throw his support behind another candidate? The ultimate test of the system to see how fast they drop everything. I don't think they would. I mean, there is such a hatred of Trump. I don't think there's anything he could do to not have this kind of, and I know it's an alternative universe. I'm just trying to think of this on the fly. There's never going to be a time when they don't try to destroy him. Keep in mind, in the future, when they have to write his obituary, it will be more about the scandals and the successes in presidency. The media created scandals. It's how they operate. And he could always advise his pick, the viewer said. Yeah, I think at this point, you're seeing in Trump the fighter, right? And he's not going to back down. And if he did, I think it would be a struggle for a different candidate to take up that mantle and say, I'm fighting for you. Because that's what Trump's been saying since day one, since it came down the escalator, that I'm fighting for the forgotten men and women. So can he then say, I've had enough of this? I really don't think he could. Now, just to show you the media's bias, remember, Ronna McDaniel was booted out because she had the audacity to work for the Trump presidency, for Trump. But Jen Psaki, no problem. She's still all over the media. Not an issue whatsoever, because she was fighting for good. She was fighting for the Biden agenda. She had a theory about why Republicans critical of former Trump have started supporting the former president, being that they would be next in power behind Trump. Republicans such as Bill Barr and Mitch McConnell have endorsed the former president ahead of the 2024 election, which could end up being a rematch between Trump and Biden. Psaki, who previously worked as Biden's White House press secretary, criticized Republicans who have flipped against their past criticism of Trump and argued that their support stems from the personal benefits that they would get from doing so. Get this, quote, I think many of them want to be close to power. They also assume or have this thought in their mind that maybe Donald Trump will go away. Maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe he will die. Not to be too morbid, but maybe, he's not a young man. Who knows what's in their mind? They think maybe I'll be behind the Oval Office. Maybe I will be in the Oval Office. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to wrap up this hour. Join us in the next hour. We're kicking right off at the beginning with Chris Callis about the college fair. And right after that, we're going to be talking with Congressman Nick Langworthy. These are both interviews for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program. 1 hour down. 1 hour left to go. Thanks for joining us. Keep those comments coming in. Keep those questions coming in for Nick. And we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house. And I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Attention high
school students, college transfer students, or anyone looking to further their education. This is the event for you at the Elmira Elks on May the 8th. There will be a free college fair with free parking. Come and talk to 2- and 4-year college representatives, in and out-of-state schools, public and private schools, technical schools, United States Armed Service recruiters, local police and fire departments recruiting new cadets. This only happens once a year, May the 8th at the Elmira Elks College Fair from 6 to 8 p.m.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
New York City, a grand stage where the best of the best compete for the crown. In a pound for pound,
oh my goodness,
paw for paw,
look at that,
all-out battle for glory.
Who will be crowned the top dog?
The Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show, sponsored by Purina Pro Plan, begins with a Masters Agility Championship, May 12th on Fox.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of the program. Chris, thanks so much for being back on the show.
Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Especially on this very busy day for you.
Oh
Are you ready? You got to be now, right?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be. It's now or never.
It's now or never. We're talking about the college fair coming up today from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elmira Elks Lodge. I know we talked just a few weeks ago. Any updates that we should know about?
Yes, there is. Actually, as I was mentioning a couple of weeks ago about the different colleges that are coming in, I've got a couple. Matter of fact, I just got a text, breaking news, that the Thomas Edison Spartan will be outside and present. So the Spartan will be in the house with stitches. So
do they have a rivalry?
They might start. They might start, and possibly Subman might be from Subway.
Oh my goodness!
So we can have it going on out front. Also, colleges. University of Buffalo will be there. My alma mater.
Oh, very nice.
Will be there. Yes, I'm very proud of that. Syracuse University will be there. They just registered. U.S. Army will be there, of course. Niagara University will be there. So if you're a D1 student and looking to play athletics, a D1 level student or athlete, I should say, maybe you might want to come down to this college fair and talk to these recruiters.
And we're going to talk about exactly what the college fair is here in just a second. But are you, and I think I know the answer to this, you're working right up to the last minute. I mean, as you said, you're getting texts right at the end. You're adding new people. I'm sure you're always looking for new sponsors.
Correct.
Even. So right up until the end, here we are just moments away almost.
Literally.
And you're still working on it. So it's got to be stressful at this point in the journey.
It is. Tell you, I'm a little tired. Yeah, I'm a little tired. You know, as today's the day.
Right.
So if someone can hear us and see us, bring your child, bring yourself, bring your neighbor, bring your sports teammate. Come down to the event. It's tonight from 6 to 8 at the Elmira Elks Lodge, downtown Elmira. You want to come down? It's a great event. I can't stress it enough. Today's the day. It only happens once a year.
Right.
All this planning and time goes into it. So yes, if there's a sponsor out there that wants to help make this happen, especially as I mentioned before, I want to next year have the instant scholarships.
Right.
That we do have a drawing. One of our elected officials to come maybe do it
Yeah.
for us. I think this would be a great time to get on board. I could use that donation for sure, because this is all done by donation. There's no tax dollar being spent here.
No.
This isn't part of the school district. This isn't part of any tax roll. This is by donations such as good people with Big Fox that helped us out, and others. And there's so many sponsors.
And we're going to talk about that in a second. I definitely want to go through the list because it couldn't be done without them. And also, I want people to realize how much this is a community-minded event.
Correct.
You're doing it for the community, for the betterment of the community. The Elks Lodge is excited to be involved because there's so much a part of the community. That's what it's all about. One last question about the planning, since it is the last minute. When do you start planning again for the next one?
Literally today.
Yeah.
I actually have a nice survey that we're going to be handing out tonight. And some of the folks that are going to be helping me out, the Career Development Council, will be helping me out, and they'll be collecting those, along with my wife and my son Leonidas, who's like the people greeter.
Yeah.
So Leonidas, do your job tonight. Thank you, sir. And anyway, they'll be collecting those, and I'm going to use that feedback, and we're going to put together, and we're going to see, okay, how can I improve? You know, does the dinner need to be better? Does the space need to be better? Does the students, you know, we need more students. We go over the whole thing, what's good, bad, and ugly. And we're going to go there, and we're going to put that data together and see how we improve. So that'll be something that we're going to start tonight at the end of the night. And looking at that, and we're going to, of course, analyze that and then come back with what the results that we got.
And I know we talked about this last time, but it's important to know that it is obviously for high school students, but maybe college students looking to transfer. You also have adults looking to further their education. There's really something for everybody, and it's not just public and private schools. It's technical schools, as you mentioned, the armed services, police. You really have it pretty much all covered.
I'm trying. And that's one thing I did talk to one of the other people that had me interview about the adult people that want to go back to college.
Right.
It's never too late. It's never too late to stop learning. And most importantly, if you have a 2-year degree from Corning Community College or TC3 or Broome Community, congratulations. And you say, you know what, I haven't used my degree in years, or I want to further it. This is the college fair for you. Come talk to them, see how things have changed. See if you can do online classes. See if you can do visitation to see what you need. How many of your credits would still transfer?
Right.
You know, this is a great event for not just students in high school, but also adults.
Have you found, and maybe you've never really necessarily paid attention to this, how long does the typical visitor to the college fair, how much time do they spend at the event? Because 2 hours isn't really that long if you are looking right from scratch with how many people you have on your list that they could visit.
That's a good question. We'll never throw anybody out.
Right.
So if they've got time to talk, we'll let them talk as long as the mission rep wants to continue to stay, which is fine. We ask that they stay for the full 2 hours.
Sure.
But you could go through the fair probably easily 2 hours talking to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take you 2 hours to go through all of it, because if you're going to fill out an inquiry card and talk about questions, easily 2 hours. Actually, probably more.
That's what I was looking at your list here. If you're coming in, like I said, from scratch, not knowing what you want to do with your future, and you wanted to talk to as many as you can, I don't know how you could get through this in 2 hours.
It'd be tough.
Yeah.
It would be tough. But that's why you want to come prepared with your questions and do your research as your school counselors and guidance counselors. Some places will have a list for you to take with you. Know directly what you're asking.
Right.
You know, that way you can get right to the heart of the matter. Do they have my major? If they don't, you move on. You know, and we'll go back to the reality check of the cost.
Right. It
Can
always
I afford
the
this?
cost. Yeah.
You know, is there scholarships? You know, is there merit-based aid? Is there athletic scholarships at the D1 schools, of course? You know, and to see what they have available. But if you come prepared, talk to your school counselor, talk to your guidance counselor. Come prepared. That's the biggest thing. You might be able to get through there in less than 2 hours.
Right, right. It's so valuable. I mean, I would say take a couple minutes today before you plan on attending from 6 to 8. And like you said, come up with the questions that would directly affect you going in. And this isn't just for the kids coming. This is for adults that are going. And everyone, don't just come in there blind.
No, not at all. You don't want to do that.
Is there anything else that people that are going to attend tonight should know?
Number one, come with your questions. Come with comfortable shoes. Right. You're going to be walking around.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing too, come early. You know, you don't have to be there before 6, but it's from 6 to 8.
Right.
So you don't want to show up at 10 of 8. You know, you like to get there early to make it happen. But bring your friend. Bring a family member. Bring your neighbor. I can't stress that. Bring them with you, because this only happens once a year.
Right.
You know, but again, come prepared. Get a list of questions. And if you don't know, come see me, and I'll give you some questions.
Right.
You know, and I'm standing in the front as the people greeter, talking to people as the MC, and I'll give you questions, what to ask, and who's a good school to talk to.
Right.
They all are great schools to talk to. So talk to every one of them.
Well, that's what I think is really interesting about this and why you provide such a service. Because I remember when I was getting ready to go to college, and you know, you had to make the calls, you had to go to the websites. Even back then, that wasn't as prevalent. And some of the hoops you had to jump through, there wasn't everything all together in one place to make it easy for the student.
Correct.
Which, you know, students kind of like, you know, I'm not saying students are lazy, but everybody would like to have them in the one place and get it all, not over with, but have that all in one place.
Absolutely. And this is where it would happen. One thing about that, talking about questions, if I fill out an inquiry card, or can you waive my application fee that I'm talking to you, there's anywhere from $25 to $200, you know, minimum. If I come visit, will you pay for my gas?
Right.
If I come visit, will you pay for my lunch?
Yeah.
And there's things that they do for students, because they want you on that campus. You know, so you want to ask those questions. And again, why drive way out to a school and find out they don't have what you need?
Right.
Well, you can come right here and find that out tonight.
Have you found through the years that the people that participate in this, they want to continue to participate in it? Because it's not just the students that get the benefit from it. To me, it also seems like the colleges, the universities, the police, the army, they must get a lot out of this too.
They do. They do without question. I have some committed friends here that are dedicated to this event, and they've come. SUNY Fredonia, SUNY Delhi, of course, Elmira College, Corning Community College, local schools have been there. But yes, I find a lot of schools that are committed, and Syracuse University, another one's been committed to it. But I can go right down this list of all of them. There's so many. We don't have enough time to shout them out.
Yeah.
But that's why I have to cap it at 50, because the people will show up tonight. Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard there's a college fair. You did hear correctly. Yeah. But unfortunately, unless someone doesn't show up, I don't have space for you.
Right.
Because it's capped at 50. Mm-hmm. So we have to be mindful of how many people we have.
Right.
This isn't the Jacob Javits. I've said that before. You know what I mean? Centered out in New York. It's the Elmira Elks, which is wonderful to host us for us.
It's a great location.
And I'm going to tell you something. If anyone's interested in the Elks, we'll have applications available.
Okay.
If you want to become a member of the Elks, we can talk to you about what we offer there. Mm-hmm. It's a great civic organization, and there's Elks all over the nation. I can't stress that enough. It isn't just an Elmira Horseheads.
No.
They're all over the nation. I'm a proud member of the Elks, and I thank them for putting this on.
And they do so much for the community, the Elks.
That's incredible what they do.
They're a great organization. So speaking of people that are involved, we talked about the universities, and I just say people go and find out for themselves, basically. It was the best way to do it. But as you mentioned, there's no way to have this be so successful without the sponsors. Do you want to go through the sponsors? Because we do have time for that, because it is so important.
I do. I also want to go back to the Elks real quick.
Yeah, of course.
The Elks who've taken this on have been great. April Bates, I couldn't do it without her. Mm-hmm. My wife, of course, Lindsay, host trainer. My friend Chris Giaconda, IT specialist. And my son, Leonidas, who, by the way, I'm planning for his college.
Yeah.
Because he's in kindergarten. Guess what?
You got to start planning.
You got to start planning, because who knows what's going to happen in another 12 years.
Yeah. How many volunteers does it take to put this on?
Well, this year I'm very blessed. The Career Development Council is be on board, so they're going to be there to help me.
Oh, great.
I've also got Constable Mike Seifert going to be there to help me. And we've had so many volunteers over the years that have come and gone and helped out. Eddie Atwood, my best friend, helping me load up stuff yesterday, getting tables, getting food, doing deliveries. I couldn't do it without these guys and ladies that have made this happen. But it takes a lot of volunteers, because it's a lot of sweat equity.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of sweat equity. But again, without the sponsorships, this couldn't happen.
No. So do you want to go through the sponsorships?
If I could.
Yeah, I would love to.
That would be great. So, first and foremost, the Elks, Elmira Elks. We also have the Horseheads Elks. We have County Legislator Marty Chalk, County Legislator Rodney Strange, County Legislator Steve Pickering, City Councilman Nick Grasso. We have Peter Wallen at Erie Insurance, Wallen Insurance. We have the Career Development Council. Part of this, we have Pew Safety, which is great. Zach's got on board this year. We also have Jeremy Bulldogs Cafe up on 14th Street. We have First Class Auto Detailing. We also have the Moonies, which is awesome.
Yeah.
We have our delicious Culligan water, as you can see right behind me.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic.
It's
Thank you, Culligan water.
Yes.
We have plenty of water available, because it's going to be hot today.
It is.
It's supposed to be 82. So hopefully the air conditioning's working. And then of course we have Hilliard. Couldn't do it without Hilliard's sponsorship. New this year is Wegmans, of course. Disc Center USA. Herman Rodriguez chiropractor, that is. We have Howard Hanna on this year, which is great. Thank you, Mike. We have Jersey Mike's, which is there. We have Gene Ballmer's Used Cars. Great guy. Him and his daughter Julie do a wonderful job on the south side. Also, we have right up the street here in Corning. It's a little tough to read his logo.
Oh, Tom South Corning Collision.
Tom South Corning Collision.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Tom will fix your car and make it look like it came off the showroom, which is wonderful. Sam's Club, again, they've been since day one.
Yeah.
I can't go without Sam's Club. And I think I have just about everybody on here. Oh, also On a Roll and Horseheads is also a sponsor this year. And I think I have everybody covered at this point. The Elmira Heights PFO, which is great.
Yeah.
And they've been fantastic. Being on the school board, having that connection with them.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They've been fantastic. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Elmira Heights, for that. We appreciate that contribution, donation, and also all these people that are spreading the word about the event to get the turnout there.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to stress with this event, besides not having the sponsors to make this happen, or the Elks allow us to have it there, is these are students that want to come to this.
Right.
They're not bussed in. They're not forced to go to it.
It's not a field trip.
It's not a field trip.
Right.
These are kids that want to come there. Their parents might be making them come to it, okay? But they want to come to this event. They want to learn. So, as some of the feedback I've gotten over the years have been, I might not have seen 100 kids, but I saw 15 quality students.
Right.
You know, and that's the point. And I can tell you there's a lot of kids here that I know have gone off to colleges because of this college fair.
I'm sure.
And they come back to me and say, hey, Chris, you know, I met that rep. That rep helped me out. You know, I didn't know about this until I came to that college fair that you run.
So it would be nice to know what those numbers are, because I bet you it'd be shocking to know how many it really is.
It'd be fantastic to know that. You know, that'd be a great thing to have,
Yeah.
to learn over 14 years how many kids. Think about some of those kids were in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Or before.
Yeah.
You know, where they're going now.
Wow, isn't that amazing? 14 years. I know we talked about it last time, and I couldn't remember. I thought you said 14 years. So you think about that. It's only gotten better every year.
It
except
has.
for COVID.
Yeah, except for the COVID,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, but-
you know, but with these sponsors, you know, and the schools that keep coming in, which is fantastic. One thing I do want to say also, Dan Mandel, Mayor of Elmira, he's a proud sponsor this year. Thank you, Dan,
nice.
for your contribution. One of our elected officials. And also, we have the Elmira Fire Department, the Elmira Police Department, the New York State Police Department, and we also have the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, all coming to look for cadets. They're all in need of employees and cadets. So those four will be there. If you're looking to go in any type of law enforcement or firefighting,
right,
this is the event for you. They'll be there front and center talking to you.
Is DC new? Have you had them in the past?
I've never had them in the
I
past.
was thinking that was new.
Yeah, I met them at an event at BOCES.
Okay.
And started talking to the gentleman, and I said, hey, I'd like to have you come. And sure enough, he got back to me and said, yeah, I can do it.
Oh, that's
Especially
great.
that it's a free event.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a free event. I don't charge for these colleges to come to them like most places do.
That's unique.
And again, that wouldn't be done without the contributions of these sponsors. And one other thing, I'm being told that I put on the best food dinner at most all the college fairs in New York State.
Because all the people that are part of it, not the students, but all the people that are part of it get to have this big wing ding at the end.
Yes, we have a free buffet dinner.
Wow.
For them from 5 to 6.
No wonder you have no trouble filling up 50
no. People travel from far to come get fed. You know, so it's a free meal for them, and it's a free event for them.
Yeah.
And again, this wouldn't be possible without all these wonderful sponsors that we have.
Yeah.
And that's why we're different, because I used to work in higher ed. You know, I know what it's like to go to an event. You pay $150, $200. You know, you might get a sandwich.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
yeah.
you know, unfortunately, or
a bottle of water.
A bottle of water, yeah. But it never was colored in refreshing water.
No, it never was.
So my thing is that this makes a difference. They go, hey, and they talk on the circuit.
Oh, of course.
You know, hey, that Callis, he puts on a heck of a show down there.
Yeah.
You know, for us. And on top of that, speaking of show, we're gonna have the Elmira Pioneers there.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, giving out free tickets. So Stitches will be there. Thank you for the Pioneers for being part of this event.
Yeah.
And
Talk about community.
Oh, without question. And they're going to be opening their season in a couple weeks.
So, wow, you've got a busy day. I'm not going to keep you any longer because I know you've got a lot of work to do.
Yes, I do.
But thank you for putting this on every year. And I know I speak for a lot of people that realize the importance of this. And it is unique, and it's something very special for our area. It's a college fair tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elmira Elks Lodge. What's your tomorrow morning look like? Sleep in all day?
I wish I could say that, but I have a lot of tables to return.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We've got to borrow, and I got to follow up with those surveys.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so I'd love to say I could sleep in. That's not happening this week.
No.
You know, but I can't thank you enough, Frank, for having me on, and of course letting people know about this upcoming event.
In the future, we'll have you on next year.
Thank
okay?
you, sir.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us and go to the college fair tonight from 6 to 8 at the Elmira Elks Lodge.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Gardens and landscaping will help you grow a green thumb.
Your wallet is always always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, our beautiful view of Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. And for the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program, we are being joined this morning live from Washington with Congressman Nick Langworthy. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Frank. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Of course. How are things in Washington?
Just like we planned it, right?
Right, exactly.
It's a very divided time in our government, and there's it's an election year, and the election year is swallowing up the agenda here at our nation's capital, and but divided government has stopped a runaway train that was the Biden spending agenda, and I think that's the most important thing that we could accomplish with this Congress. Today we have a 1-seat majority because there's a lot of vacancies. A member, my neighboring district, city of Buffalo, was sworn in, Tim Kennedy, this week, and we are waiting for some members to come through their runoffs and the special elections to come here to fill some of the other vacancies. But it's a very, very narrow majority. When you get into the even number of years, I mean, we will not have a ton of legislative calendar this year, but we're not addressing the most important issues. The president doesn't address affordability for Americans. He has not addressed the southern border crisis. And there's a lot of work that's gone undone. I'm very disappointed in that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the word divided, and one of the topics we've been discussing so much on this program are the anti-Israel protests on college campuses. And did you ever think we'd be in a time where, we were lectured so often about how love trumps hate, and now on college campuses it seems as if hate is a fashionable thing to be involved in?
Hate is all of a sudden contagious.
Yeah.
It's the summer of hate on our college campuses. Is these young people that I think many of them don't even know what they're protesting.
No.
I just returned from Israel a week after Easter, and I went first 5 years ago, and this was a far different trip. The pain that is there from the scars of October 7th, they'll never be healed. And to travel into those neighborhoods where mass murder was committed, torture, rape, kidnapping. The one particular town I went to, kibbutz near Oz, about a mile from the Gaza fence we were, and it had about 400 residents. 77 were taken into captivity into Gaza, and 50 were murdered on the spot. And when you walk through those neighborhoods, and then you watch a bunch of overprivileged college kids in America, talking about ending genocide. The genocide was committed on October 7th.
Right.
There was a ceasefire on October 6th.
Right.
This is war. War is real. And bad things happen in war. But no war existed on October 6th.
Right.
But we saw barbarism that the world has never seen on October 7th. And I have seen sights and sounds that I will never forget in my life. And I've sat with hostage families. Americans are still being held by Hamas. 5 Americans. You hear the president talking about that?
No.
Do you hear these protesters talking about those hostages? Hell no. They don't care. This is fashionable. There's AstroTurf involved in that. And what do I mean by that? It means that people are paying to organize these protests, and this dark liberal money that's out there that's, very reminiscent of what we saw in the summer of 2020 with, the BLM riots. And we now have, young, impressionable people putting, their own lifelong reputations on the line as they're out there spewing, this hate on the internet for all to see.
And don't you feel bad for the student who just wanted that degree and spent all that money and now has the stigma of graduating in the class of 2024 from a Columbia or wherever the case may be?
Well, that is terrible because this is a small sliver of the total student population. I mean, I do think our youth is, been convinced that this is not a battle of good versus evil, which, I mean, is ludicrous.
Right.
But you really, have, I think, a lot of people that are going to reimagine what the big educational industrial complex really means at this point. And we've seen a trend of that since COVID. But, these Ivy League institutions are not going to have the same cachet that they once did.
No.
This is scarring. And especially when you look at, the affordability of a degree from these institutions. Well, is the job on the back end anymore? Is it a guarantee just because you went to Columbia that you're a guaranteed stamp seal of approval, gold star hire? I don't think so. I think this is really going to be damaging to the reputations of these organizations, and I think you're going to see a lot of students going forward looking for more affordable, more practical solutions for their education. Where you're supposed to go to college, and sure, your mind gets open to new ideas. You get exposed to, probably more diversity.
Sure.
You learn, but you shouldn't be indoctrinated.
Right.
And I think that's happened far too much. When you see the faculty joining these protests, these institutions need to be held to account. And I call it the big educational industrial complex. And we have fine institutions in our district, and I've talked to most, if not all, of the presidents around this. But this activism, this pollution of minds, this anti-American rhetoric. I mean, I'm currently crafting legislation. I want to go after, if we have any foreign national in this country on a student visa that gets caught with this anti-Semitic, protesting, unrest and behavior, I think they need to have that revoked immediately and get out of here.
Couldn't agree more. And I think, to your point, it has opened the eyes to, and especially in an election year like this, to use Trump's phrase, the forgotten men and women who work hard all day and they turn on the TV and see faculty, professors, and students protesting this hate. I think it's opened the eyes of what's really happening on college campuses.
I think this has been, the media hasn't covered this for far too long.
Right.
The indoctrination that's going on our campuses. You've got the president who is every day, it seems like, trying to find a way to cancel some student debt. And meanwhile, the hardworking men and women that, do things the right way, they didn't take the extra vacations, they didn't buy the big truck, they skipped, they scrimped, they saved, their kids worked their way through school, and they walked away with no debt. They get nothing. And then, again, people that went and signed their life away, then want to cry, poverty and have the government, through a redistribution of wealth, in essence, on borrowed money. The government borrows more money to clean your debts wiped clean. Well, if I bought a house that I can't afford, the bank takes that back.
Exactly.
We have to teach the youth in America, your actions have consequences.
Yes.
That signature was a decision. Your protest was a decision. I mean, when I watch that footage of Columbia where you've got a young person getting arrested saying, I have finals tomorrow. Not tomorrow,
No.
And they have to understand that their actions have consequences, and they don't live in a vacuum.
And to your point, we had a viewer reach out and saying, isn't higher education at some point responsible for helping these students pay off their loans through finding gainful employment? It seems now you've seen some of the degrees that these protesters are trying to obtain. There is no future in the real world for some of these degrees that they're paying a lot of money for.
No, I think that we also need to be rethinking some of our incentives in some of these student loan programs. I mean, why is it the federal government's business to put people into degree programs that don't lead to a career?
Right.
I mean, the whole idea is to improve our society by improving our economy. We have a lot of ways that we should, we have industries that have no future. We're talking about using visas to bring foreign, nationals into the country to do specific jobs. Engineers is one that comes up all the time with industries where they're trying to bring in people from Europe or Asia to come and be engineers at some of our great American companies. I mean, we should be putting serious incentives on the table for young people to go into the degree programs where we actually have a drastic need. And instead, we've got, I'm sorry, your degree in British literature didn't, lead to, six-figure gainful employment, and you're looking at a job at the coffee shop. I mean, this is your actions have consequences, and I think that for far too long, we have, coddled the youth in America to the point, we have the participation trophy generation, and it's time that they have to stand up and be adults.
Yes. And that's exactly what it seems. I think the one protester that got arrested, her degree was going to be in Marxist poetry of like the 1900s. You're only going to be a protester your whole life if that's right.
Professor or protester, those are your two job options. And that's just, it's not a good use of anyone's talent. I mean, for an actual academic adult to lead a young person towards a degree in that program, I mean, that's malpractice.
It really is. And that ties in, kind of piggybacking off of it. Did you see the president's speech on anti-Semitism? So many in the media are praising it, saying it was wonderful. Then we learn moments later, essentially, that the Biden administration officials are holding up shipments of precision bombs to Israel.
Well, I didn't watch I don't watch many of the programs, to be honest. I'll get the readout after the fact.
Fair enough.
And see the highlights. I mean, usually the gaff reel is pretty interesting. But in all seriousness, the reports that he is slowing down, delaying, or stopping any of the armaments that we just passed 2 weeks ago, the $26 billion in aid for Israel. Israel needs that aid. They need the replenishment of the Iron Dome. We saw Iran attack, albeit it wasn't overly effective, but it just shows you the strength of Iran, the weapon systems that we have helped them develop. The fact that the president's trying to have it both ways on the Israeli situation, I think shows you the box that he's in politically. He's staring down Michigan, which has the largest Muslim population outside of the Muslim world, and he's got problems there. And his support for Israel has caused him political problems there. This is a time for any leader of the free world to do the right thing. There cannot be an inch of distance between the United States and the state of Israel. This is a bond that cannot be broken. They're our only democratic ally in the Middle East, in those Judeo-Christian values that bring our two countries as close together as they are, need to be steadfast and strong. Traveling to Israel, it's clear that America is their beacon of freedom. They are our beacon of freedom in the Middle East. And, the president wants to draw red lines and bully, President Netanyahu. This doesn't end until Hamas is eradicated. There are 4 battalions left in Rafah. They need to be dismantled. When this started, Hamas had 26 battalions. This is a fighting force. People, I think, in this country think of, just footage of little ragtag bunches of terrorists. This is an army.
Right.
And Hezbollah is a much larger army to the north that Israel faces a real threat from every single day, plus other proxies of the Iranian regime. Right. But in Rafah, there are 4 battalions that need to be defeated. And President Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, is dedicated to ending Hamas as they know it today, and it must be done.
It's so discouraging to think that decisions like this could be made for nothing but political reasons, nothing about till November, that's all focused on November. And I also think it shows a little bit about where the Democrat Party is today, that is such a major factor in President Biden's decision making when it comes to Israel, because there's a strain now, right, of this kind of anti-Israel sentiment.
I mean, sadly, I serve with terrorist sympathizers.
Yeah.
Some. I'm not painting a broad brush.
Of course.
There are specific members, and I won't name names here, but you can use your imagination. They are terrorist sympathizers.
Yeah.
Crying when we, censor someone for anti-Semitic rhetoric. The chanting of "from the river to the sea."
I know.
That is a rallying cry to murder Jews.
Right.
I mean, we're a lot closer to 1939 right now in America and in the world, for that matter, than we have been, since it actually happened. I mean, we have an axis of evil that is coming together between Russia, China, and Iran. We have unrest in the Middle East. We have war in Europe. And we have Taiwan that could be acted on at any moment. This is a time for American strength. And that's why, we need a commander-in-chief that people have to question. What's the next move? We don't want someone that's going to lean back on their heels and waffle and pull back from our allies. We never got into any wars in the previous administration. Cowboy diplomacy works. It worked for Ronald Reagan, and it worked for President Trump, and it can work again.
I couldn't agree more. Changing things up a little bit, I know you've received a lot of questions on this, and I know you've spoken out about it, but money for Ukraine, and I know you voted for that. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because we had some viewers write in.
I actually didn't vote for that.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
No, the way that the foreign aid bill was brought to the House, it was 4 separate votes. The Senate chose to fuse it all together as one vote. And it was important that we did that way because there's such differences of opinion on what the president's ultimate priorities were on this foreign aid bill. I mean, first and foremost, Israel was a no-brainer. We need to support Israel. War in the Middle East is never a good thing, but when our ally is being attacked from all sides, they needed our full support, and I was proud to vote for that. I also voted for the funding that goes to the Indo-Pacific region. China is really our greatest threat to this country, domestically and internationally, and they're acting on Taiwan, which they have made indications in a more bullish fashion than they have in the past, that they're readying for a fight. That is something that we cannot take lightly. We have to stand with Taiwan and make sure that our important ally in that region, has the defenses that they deserve and need to defend themselves in the event of an attack. But then there was a bill with some various other policy riders that we all supported. But then when it came to the question of Ukraine, make no mistake, this is a little bit of a nuanced position.
Sure.
Putin is a butcher and a murderer. The people of the Ukraine need the weaponry to defend themselves against this needless attack. I would have voted for a bill that included just artillery, ammunition, weapon systems, the ability for the Ukrainian people to continue the defense, to try to expel the Russians from their country. Unfortunately, that's not what the president sent us. The president sent us a bill that was over $60 billion, only about half of that lethal aid. But there's $9 billion there in payments to basically just fund the functions of the Ukrainian government. There's payments for pensions for Ukrainian government employees that are retired. These are the sorts of things that take it into a direction where you get seeds of distrust from the American people.
Sure.
I want to see Putin defeat. We need to see his aggression stopped. Our NATO allies cannot be threatened by him. This district has a lot of Swedish Americans. Sweden just joined NATO because of the threat of Russia. They had been a neutral country for 200 years. I mean, that's an unprecedented threat, but they wanted to be ready. They wanted to be part of our NATO alliance, and they're a great partner and ally. But to have, Putin cannot be allowed to mull right into that country. The bill passed. All of the goodies plus the munitions are going to Ukraine.
Right.
And I think what is important, while I did not support the final package, that we did get weapons to the Ukraine so they can keep up the fight. And this gets to the beginning of next year, where all the military experts that I've heard from predict a stalemate, as long as Ukraine has the artillery they need to keep fighting. But I hope that we have a new commander-in-chief in January, and this can be drawn down. And this isn't going to end with Ukraine conquering Russia, or probably Russia conquering Ukraine in totality.
Right.
But there'll be some land argument, but just hellish loss that's taken place in that country. Between Russia's had over 350,000 casualties, either dead or wounded permanently, and the Ukrainians have had over 200,000. This is the greatest loss of life on the battlefield since World War II in Europe. Wow. It's staggering, really, when you look at the loss. So I'm hoping a new president can come in there and with a fresh perspective and find a way to draw this war down.
And I know you've got to go, so I'm going to hit you with a couple quick ones, if you don't mind. You mentioned new leadership. What precedent do you think this sets now that we've seen this lawfare, as it's being called, against former President Trump?
It's a terrible precedent. Just like, and I'm going to, go back in time here when there was a weaponized impeachment in the late 90s, it broke the government.
Right.
And now, what is the first thing out of anyone's mouth? As soon as we took over, everyone said impeachment, impeachment, impeachment.
Right.
If there are high crimes and misdemeanors, we should impeach. But then Nancy Pelosi and the leadership in the Congress, when they ran it, when President Trump was in office, they weaponized impeachment like never before.
Yeah.
But once the Pandora's box is open, it's a tool for either side to use. Impeachment should be reserved for very high crimes and misdemeanors. We're doing an inquiry right now. I'm not sure where it ends, but you're looking for actual crimes and facts, and that's why some people are very frustrated. Well, you should have them on trial already. It doesn't work.
No.
We're being honest with the Constitution, and that Nancy Pelosi was dishonest with the Constitution. I think that you look towards the weaponization of your political opponents using the justice system. This is something that can be done. This is like a banana republic tactic where you arrest your opponent. This is something that Vladimir Putin would have done to one of his adversaries, or in some Caribbean country where you're toppling the government and there's a coup d'etat. But to arrest and charge your chief political adversary, the Republican Party's nominee for president of the United States, and the concept that he could be held in contempt by a judge and might have to spend a night in jail while he's on trial because of just a gag order. I mean, this just shows you the lengths that they will go to stop President Trump, and it's just it's unprecedented and it's disgusting, and every American should reject it.
Isn't that kind of ironic how we mentioned the withholding of the precision bombs from Israel? But if you recall back in 2019, Democrats impeached then President Trump for allegedly withholding security funds from Ukraine for political reasons.
Right, for not writing a check.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. I mean, where there's guns on a boat in the sea waiting to go to the war zone, and he's angry at one of their military tactics, which he has no say over.
Right.
And he's now stopped the boat.
Yeah. It's amazing.
We're going to get in it. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and there's going to be a loud voice here.
Yes. Before we go, thank you for all that you're doing on immigration. I know you've got to go, but the Equal Representation Act and this illegal immigration is the number one topic on people's mind. So we appreciate the work that you're doing behind the scenes, and we've heard a lot about it. And thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I mean, our southern border crisis it's an invasion of America. President Biden has not been defending our southern border. I mean, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. I mean, we have upwards of 10 million people that have come into this country because of the 90 executive actions that President Biden has taken to unwind the Trump-era immigration policies. This is a crisis of his making. There was a Senate bill that some on the left like to cite of saying, "Oh, this would have made great progress." No, it would have legalized and codified illegal immigration up to a certain level. I mean, they said, well, up to 5,000 a day before the triggers come in. Well, by the end of the week, 5,000 a day, we've got more than the population of Elmira has come into this country. That's an invasion. I mean, we have a greater number of illegals that have come in here during the Biden administration than you have the population of many, many states. Yeah. And now what we're working on the floor is a bill to stop the counting of people here illegally. for our U.S. Census in our representation purposes. There's some thought that California and New York are welcoming so many migrants with open arms because they want to increase their voice in the federal government. They want to have more members of Congress from those areas that are sanctuaries so they can have more leftist representation in our state and federal government. And that's wrong. We're trying to stop that dead in its tracks. I mean, the concept of American citizenship has to be sacrosanct, and you have to treasure that. And we are a country of immigrants. We all came from somewhere. They came here the right way. They came here the lawful way. And every time we normalize the behavior of people that have just wandered in here, and the president's scattered them all over the country, we're smacking in the face every immigrant that came here and stood in line and did things the right way.
Right.
It's wrong.
I do. Well, Congressman Nick Langworthy has been a guest this morning. Nick, thanks so much for being on the show, giving us so much time this morning, and I hope we'll do it again soon. How's the campaign going? Good?
My pleasure. Things are going just fine. It's just so great when we get time in the district. I mean, we're in Washington far more than I think people understand, and I more appreciate the time I get to spend meeting with you all in New York's 23rd district. I mean, all the way across the southern tier and then Erie County, and it's expanding after this election into Tioga and Niagara counties, and we're going to welcome those constituents in as well. But if our office can do anything to help anyone watch it today, no problem is too big or no problem is too small. We have an office right in downtown Corning, just down the street from where Frank's broadcasting from right now.
That's right.
And we'd be happy to take on your issues.
Great. Well, Nick, thanks so much. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Thanks so much, Frank.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
My entire practice is focused and centered around St. James Hospital in Hornell. We see a lot of joint pain from hips, shoulders, and knees, whether you're a weekend warrior or even a 80 to 90-year-old who just wants to stay active and keep walking a couple blocks in their neighborhood. I want to spend the time to connect, to really hear you and understand why you've come to visit me to seek treatment. It drives me to be the best physician I can be so that you can go back and do the things that you want to do in life.
You learn that there are no shortcuts in racing or in life, so it's no surprise that there aren't any when it comes to hair loss either. One of my first attempts to deal with my own hair loss was a literal shortcut. Thankfully, my wife found Hair Club. I thought that nobody could understand how mortified I was to be losing my hair. So you can imagine how relieving it was to know that Hair Club's experts have already helped so many people with their hair loss. I was shocked that Hair Club had virtually every solution possible. If I had known about Hair Club sooner, I never would have tried any of those overhyped advertised solutions.
With over 120 locations, Hair Club is North America's largest provider of complete hair loss solutions. Whether you choose surgical, non-surgical, or restorative solutions, Hair Club has you covered.
If you're determined to get your hair back and live the life you deserve, just call Hair Club. You can get your own free personalized consultation with a hair loss expert and be on your way to the finish line in no time.
Scan the code on your screen now to schedule a free consultation and save 20% on select solutions using promo code Frankie.
We are back and clearly running late. Thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy for being our guest. I kept him long. I didn't know how long we had. I kept him long, and that was wonderful that he spent so much time with us during the Stu Ben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Let's go. I'm going to have to take another short break, okay? But before that, let's go through some comments that we've received. And I do want to apologize. I should have made this a little more clear. It is very difficult the way the system works with Zoom to check the texts during the interview, so I did not omit anybody's question on purpose. I just can't check it the way the computer system works without Zoom having to be minimized, and so I apologize if you think I was ignoring you. I really wasn't. As a matter of fact, the whole time I'm thinking, I hope it sounds okay, and people aren't texting me that it doesn't sound okay. Quote, this is from a viewer: they can't drop the Trump trials. This isn't just to damage Trump. It's the Democrats sending a message to all Republicans and conservatives that they can't, or that they can do this to you too. I agree. I think it's sending the message that be careful how much you go against the political orthodoxy, against the swamp. I would agree with you, Ken. To the viewer who earlier said that they had made the suggestion that Trump step aside, give it to somebody else, and see how this all goes away, the trials and like that. But I said I don't think that'll ever happen, and the viewer said it's just very stressful for supporters to witness. I agree. It's a lot to take in. Next, thanks, Nick Langworthy, for saying it like it is, and shame on those who don't know what they're spewing, meaning the college campuses, the faculty, the students who don't know what they're spewing. They're just spewing hate because it's the quote-unquote popular thing to do. Moreover, shame on those who do know and are harming our youth, who are being used as pawns in this sick game. Again, could not agree more. Nick should be the rule, not the exception. He's the example the rest need to mentor after. Can't wait to hear his opinion of the trial. And of course, you ultimately heard that. It surprises me how much the judge can be so obviously biased working with the prosecutor instead of being neutral and servicing true justice. It's more like a Salem witch trial after the witch hunt. Great point from a viewer. And another viewer, a viewer comment. What a great discussion today with Nick Langworthy. His words brought my blood pressure down. Oh, well, that's good. There's a couple things in there that brought him up in this fact of when we get talking about college students and like that, to get me worked up. So it was nice to hear from Nick. We got to take another short break. Stay with us. Keep those comments coming in. We're getting ready to wrap up. Wow, today's edition. Did that move fast or what? Stay with us.
Libraries are important because you can make friends here. It's fun coming to the library. I really enjoy it. I really, really like it because there's lots of cool, stuff. If you come here, you're probably going to get sucked into a book. There's a children's section for the younger kids. There's also an adult section for adults that don't want to read children's books. The library is for everybody.
Strong libraries equal strong communities. Vote on May 21st.
Getting real video for a commercial used to be extremely expensive, but not anymore. WYDC TV Big Fox now offers the Twin Tiers amazing aerial video for your business. We do it with our state-of-the-art drone and commercially licensed aerial pilot. Beautiful HD aerial video and pictures custom-made for your commercial. Call or email now to advertise on Big Fox TV and let everyone see your business in a whole new way.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Cause here, we got the guy that swings harder, the guy that runs faster, hits further, deals nasty. Saturdays on Fox, we got the swag, the scoops, the smiles, the steals. We got the pop, the rips, the threads, the wheels. We got the slides, the kicks, the shuffles, the feeds, and picks for the highlight reel. Cause Saturdays on Fox, we got you. No big deal.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks are a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen One, the portable oxygen concentrator you can take almost anywhere.
With this little device, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
The Inogen One is so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen One for 30 days completely risk-free. Give us a call right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days completely risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen One system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 1-800-929-7290. Again, that's 1-800-929-7290.
The mass will merge.
I don't want to.
Phone's ringing.
fish might be Hillary Duff.
Juliana Hough.
Nicole Scherzinger.
I'm not saying nothing.
You get to keep it on.
Hello,
Tonight.
Singer. Please hold.
And we are back, and frankly speaking, I know I had to take back-to-back breaks. It was such a busy morning. We are nearly out of time. Did you see RFK Jr. has challenged Trump to a debate at the Libertarian Party convention? You know, a viewer had a point earlier that if Trump was in jail, he wouldn't be able to debate, and that's how Biden could get away with not debating him. I think there's so many ways that Biden has in his back pocket that he won't have to debate Trump. I'm still not convinced. You can go back to the tape and just really embarrass the heck out of me if they do end up debating. But I still stand pretty, I'm not going to say confident. I just don't see a scenario where that plays out. I really don't. Comment from a viewer. What scares me is the so-called law schools are graduating a group to support a reimagined justice system. Sure. I mean, the precedent that this is set with this hush money trial, where we still don't know what crimes are really being alleged, the salacious, unnecessary testimony from Stormy Daniels yesterday, just to, as Jonathan Turley said, humiliate Trump, a punishment in a way, with no justification for the trial. The list goes on and on. Even if, and I know I've said it all morning, even if you hate Trump, you've got to see what this is all about. You've got to see the bias. You've got to see the cards stacked against him. And you've got to see what precedent this sets. It's laughable to think that the media and some politicians are saying, basically, this is a one and done. It's just because it's Trump. It's Bragg ran on it, that he's going to get Trump. You know, it's a little different, but it's not going to happen, which is an outright joke. If it works specifically, but even if it doesn't work, I think they have set the precedent now that the next Republican gets in there, whether it's Trump or whoever it be, there's going to be scandals nonstop, gumming up the works during the whole term. There's going to be trials. The list goes on. I mentioned that with the congressman, that you have in 2019, Trump was impeached for not giving that aid to Ukraine for political reasons, is what they alleged. And yet Biden, we learn, has withheld ammunition from Israel to, I guess, protest, if you will, going into Rafah. Fetterman, who's a Democrat from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, the senator, he's been very outspoken on his support for Israel. And he said these protesters are actually working against peace in Gaza. I'm not even sure if they really, know what they're protesting about. If you ask them, they're not really sure. They can't, and now they're not talking about ceasefires anymore. And now they're talking about divesting and harming Israel and that. It's crazy. It's actually working against peace in Gaza, and Hamas is convinced that they've won the PR war. They have. They've won the PR war, and the media is more than happy to use their PR, to use their death toll numbers. And they keep seeing all these kinds of protests across the nation on these campuses, and it's not helpful. It works against peace. Yeah, I think there's so many countries laughing at us, and we didn't have time with the congressman, but when he's talking about Taiwan, you don't think China's watching all of this very closely when they're thinking about when they're going to go to Taiwan? Because I think it's a when, not an if. Out of time. Thank you to Chris Callis. Don't forget about the job fair today, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Elmira Elks Lodge, 300 East Gray Street in Elmira. Thank you to Congressman Nick Langworthy for being our guest. That was a great interview. I can't thank him enough. And thank you. I can't thank you enough for joining us this morning on Frankly Speaking. And please do the same thing all over again by joining us at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, have a great day, everyone.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask